What is going on, my homies? We are down here at GAF Marine down here in Coleman. These are the boys that actually rigged up Spaceballs, dude, and I have another project for them. So we have a completely bare naked Fireballs right now, dude. It is the reddest boat that I probably will ever own, but it's gonna get pimped out. I got hydraulic gear stuff for it. I got a bunch of precision sonar stuff for it. We have multiple graphs, Lowrance. I got this crazy new transducer that I'm gonna show you. My buddy Skyler over here, he is going to help me, and we're gonna walk you through the process of basically rigging up a 100% naked 2025 Z20XL until it's water ready, pimped out, tournament freaking riding. So hit that like and subscribe button. Let's get to it. Oh, bro! Welcome to the front of Fireballs. So this is done. We're still working on the back, and I'm going to work you guys through that. But I've made some changes up here, and I think they're kind of cool. One is a really expensive, big experiment, but if it works, it's going to be absolutely sick. One thing I'd highly recommend if you guys ever buy a new boat, have the manufacturer not install the trolling motor. And there's a real simple reason for that. You know, we're running all these graphs, a lot more kind of technology on the front of the boat, which means a lot more space, a lot more real estate. A lot of times the trolling motor is going to come in that set kind of manufacturer position. It's not going to accommodate. I have a precision sonar stacker triple mount graph mount on the front. It's a big deal, right? It's a big kind of apparatus. And if it's not mounted in the perfect place, that being the trolling motor, it can hit that graph mount. So we mounted the trolling motor, and then what we did is this precision sonar triple mount. And the biggest change this year is I'm running two Lowrance HES 12 Pros and a Garmin. And the reason for that is pretty simple. So I run 2D and mapping on one of the Lowrances, and then my second Lowrance is for this guy right here, my Active Target 2. I'm a huge fan of the Active Target 2. I personally, and this is just my opinion, think it's better than Live Scope when it comes to target separation in the grass and with fish that are really tight to the bottom, which are two things we see all the time on Lake Gunnersville. But you can see the big difference, right? It's this big sandwich right here. So I'm also running a Garmin, I think it's the LV62 or the LV64. It's their big saltwater transducer. It's ungodly expensive. I'll come right out with it, but I've heard some insane things about it with clarity. Basically, what people are calling it is live 360. It's only 140 degree or something, 130 degree cone, so you can only kind of see like half a circle, like 2/3 of or 1/3 of a circle, but the clarity and that real-time projection, you're not waiting for the screen to refresh to see what's going on. Now, one of the big tricks with perspective mode, scout mode, if you're using it with active target, is it's usually only super functional in a certain column of water, that being like 2 to say 10 foot, 2 to 8 foot shallower. So one of the things that I did is I got a Fish Obsessed mount. This mount is not built for the bigger transducer. I'll come right out and say it. So it might break, I don't know. But what it does is it allows me to angle this transducer kind of as I go. And what that allows me to do is say I'm in like 10 to 20 foot, 10 to 25, 10 to 30, 20 to 30. I can angle that transducer down to accommodate that depth, and I'm not losing the functionality of that perspective or that scout mode. And I'm able to still see the bottom. I can see trees sticking up in 30 feet of water, and I can get a kind of a real-time analysis of what's on the bottom, what's moving around, how do things lay out. And then as usual, I love my Ghost. It's a little shaky in the heavy grass, so what I do is I take these Ninja blades, Precision Sonar sells them as well, and I put 2 of them. That's the big key. A lot of guys will only put 1. I like 2, and you put them right on that juncture of the foot of the trolling motor to the prop, and it really helps to keep, like when you're in that thick matted hydrillo that I like to flip or frog or things along those lines, it really helps to keep that prop clean. Alright, welcome to the cockpit, boys. So we got a couple changes up here, nothing super dramatic, but I'm gonna probably fish a few more derbies this year. So one of the things that I did is I got what's called the Fish Guardian system, and it's super simple because I need simple, dude. I don't like dealing with a bunch of hassles. Basically, it's a reservoir that attaches to both of my live wells, and I can hit this little button right here at my dash, and it injects G-juice, whatever kind of liquid additive that you want to use to keep your fish okay. That's a big deal for me if I'm gonna fish some derbies. Fish care, letting thing go live, it just means a ton to me. I'm like hyper like EPA oriented with that. So we have a double graph mount. This is a precision sonar double graph mount for the Nitro. I got two HDS 12 Pros up here. But what's a little bit different about this double graph mount for this year is usually it's flat, right? So they kind of took a little more of like a gamer approach and angled the units in, which is awesome. I don't know if you've ever used like one of those curved computer screens or something like that. It gives you that kind of like curved sort of surround kind of feel. So everything's right in front of you. It's real easy to pass between each unit, but it also kind of takes away a little bit of the glare too with them angled like that. I'm pretty stoked about that. So a couple other things we did. I put an auto bilge on this boat. I figured it would be a nice little addition, especially if I go up north finally. Everybody's been inviting me to St. Lawrence and some of those big lakes like the Great Lakes up north. I'm gonna need it if I go up there. And then the other thing, this was kind of a swimsuit girl little addition. We put a stereo on this thing with a couple speakers in that, a couple kicker speakers. So you can be out there jamming, fishing, or if we're out there just enjoying some like summer sun and that, I can put my jams on the phone, Bluetooth it, and just jam out. So let's jump to the boat for a second. This is the same boat, but a different boat than what I had last year. And what I mean by that is it's still a Z20, but there's been some changes to kind of the hull design and the layout. So they're calling it the Z20XL, and that's kind of a little, I don't know, like an homage from the Z21XL. That's been their kind of flagship model at Nitro. So still a lot of the same specs. I think it comes in at 20'2", max horsepower, 250 Pro XS Mercury. But what they've done a little bit is put some kind of like harder edges and corners on it. And I'm convinced, and actually I was talking to Skylar about it when we put the graphs and the precision sonar front triple mount on the front, is that the deck is actually wider. They brought the deck out and kept it wider going to the nose of the boat. So there's more space at the very front of the boat, whereas there were a couple inches less prior to. They've also changed the backsplash, whether it's a little more walled, and those bases at the back of the boat on the hull, right next to the transom there, they kind of stick out a little more. It almost reminds me a little bit of a skeeter, and what that's going to do is that's going to stop that water from rushing over the back a little bit better. You still got to kind of tap the gas when you're coming off the pad, but the edges look really good. Like it looks really nice. It looks a lot more streamlined and a little more kind of geometrical than the rounded edges on my Z20 from last year. They've also changed the seats a little bit. They're more bucketed. They're a little bit broader. So even Skylar was kind of sitting on them. He's like, dude, this is pretty comfortable. They've also changed the drawer on the boat. The drawer used to open kind of as a swing. That could create problems because things would kind of fall into the front of the boat. Now it's a direct pull-out drawer. And they've also changed the co-angler rod storage area. Used to be kind of these little holes you poke the rods into, could get a little tight. Now it's just a band straight across, which is a lot nicer in my opinion. So let's slide into the booty of this boat. So we got 10-foot blades. I like the longer power poles. It just makes the boat a lot more functional. I can stop in a lot of places other guys can't, and it also allows me to kind of drift across stuff. If you got really high grass out on a deep flat, I can drop those things and they allow me to do kind of a controlled drift because the poles will actually catch on the grass. Now, I got a bunch of accessories on these poles. My buddy Rich at Hydraulic Gear makes some killer stuff. It's both aesthetic and functional kinds of accessories for the power poles. So first things, we got the Hydraulic Gear light. I love this because I hate bringing an anchor light around. I hate having it up there, and my co-angler, it inhibits him if there's somebody on the back of the boat. It's super easy, and it just runs from my dash. Come like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night during the summer, I hit a button, and I can keep on fishing and not worry about the police. The other thing that I got on here is the folding brackets. This was really one of the only reasons I was able to run the 10-foot blades. The folding brackets allow this boat to get a much smaller signature. So if I got a small carport, a standard garage, things along those lines, I can go ahead and unlock those brackets and fold those power poles down. And now there's actually a locking mechanism on those brackets, so I can travel. You just insert that locking mechanism and they're locked down, ready to go. The other thing that I have is the spikes. So seems like a really small thing, right? I'm amazed how well those work in rocky or super hard bottom situations. Obviously in the muck, the clay and that, they allow that pole to kind of penetrate a little better because it's a pointed kind of broad head thing. But when it comes to rock, they don't penetrate the rock, but they really stick into it and just, I don't know, poke it or pierce it, and I get a lot less slippage when I'm pulled down on rock boulders or really extremely hard bottom with those spikes. I also got a precision sonar jack plate mount. I like that because it's just super stout. Didn't have to drill any holes into the jack plate. It just screws right in and allows that transducer to be on a very stable, stout platform. I don't got to worry about flopping around and getting kind of mixed signals. Last thing on the back end is, of course, I got the Mercury 250 4-stroke, dude. I've always run Mercuries. I absolutely love them, and I love the way the sound of this thing starting up. I'm not a big car muscle guy, but I got a red boat now, right? So the sound of this motor plus the red boat, it's gonna make me feel kind of giddy in the morning. There's been so much talk, as well as, you know, we've seen things online of guys getting in boating accidents, having issues with transom cracking, and then the motor freaking jumps up, and it's extremely dangerous. So Precision Sonar runs the leash, which I'm sure you guys have heard about. We did an install video on it. Basically, it doesn't inhibit any of your trim, tilt, jack plate, whatever. I can still get ultra shallow when I'm down in Florida. But what it is it's just an insurance policy. It's a safety. It's a take care of yourself so you can fish tomorrow kind of deal. And what it does, if I were to ever, say, hit a giant stump at high speeds, or I'm out on the Great Lakes and my transom cracks, God forbid, and that motor loses connectivity to the boat and it jumps up, or it wants to jump up inside the boat, this is a steel freaking cable that will stop the motor from jumping up and putting that prop all up in my face. And I got it in red, so it kind of looks good with the boat. So the motor well is not the sexiest part of the boat, but in my opinion, it's where everything happens, and it's one of the parts of this boat I'm the most proud of, because it's pimped out, dude, like hashtag pro level. So we got a couple things going on. One, you guys can see the power poles in the back, got 10-foot blades. I got the one pump. All about size signature, right? It's the power of two pumps all set into one, much smaller size signature in the back of the boat. I have that connected to the Sea Monster app, and then I have my power pole charge, right? So I can track those batteries, I can track my power poles, all from my phone, Android, iPhone, whatever you got. So that power pole charge is going to charge my two Precision Sonar lithium batteries. I got two 36-volt batteries, lithiums, and they're paralleled together just to bring a little extra power. It allows me to last a couple days instead of maybe a day, day and a half. And those are going to be on, basically that power pole charge works as an extra alternator. So when my motor's running, it's charging not only my cranking battery, but also those trolling batteries. And then when my motor's off, that power pole charge allows charge to sort of drip across from my trolling motor batteries to my cranking battery and vice versa. This is where things get interesting. I actually have a lithium cranking battery this year. It's a Precision Sonar 150 amp hour cranking battery. It's actually viable for the Mercury warranty, so I don't have to worry about any of that. And then I'm also running a second 150 amp hour battery to operate all these graphs. So I have a total of 5 graphs, 1 Garmin, 4 Lowrance, and then I have the Garmin LiveScope LV62 box, and then I have the Active Target 2 box. So we're talking about a lot of things that need juice, right? So what's interesting about that is figuring out how to charge all that. The power pole charge will accommodate my cranking battery as well as my trolling batteries, but this Nitro actually came with a 4-bank NOCO charger, can charge lithiums, AGM, LEDs. We did an interesting thing. So we mounted those chargers. The Nitros have removable baskets in their storage compartments behind each seat. So we actually removed those baskets and mounted the power pole charge on this side and then the NOCO charger on this side. Less of a size signature in the motor well. And what I'm actually going to do is have that NOCO charger and use 1 bank of it to charge my lithium that powers all of my graphs. So I have 3 extra leads in case I ever run into a problem where I need, another charger in the boat, or one of my buddies has a bad battery or needs a charge so he can pull his battery out. I got some extra leads to help a brother out if they need it. The other cool thing, and I got to thank GAF for this because this is boat engineering, dude. I did not figure this out. So I'm always worried about redundancy, having kind of an insurance policy when you're on the water. So even though my 150 amp hour Precision Sonar lithium, it's going to last like a day and a half, 2 days with 5 graphs and 2 forward-facing units hooked to it. In the end, if you're on a camping trip 3 days, you might run out of power, or something happens and you run out of power. It's just a reality when you're out on the water. So what we did is we hooked up a 3-switch system, and what that's going to do is main switch powers on using the lithium juice off that Precision Sonar 150 amp hour, right? However, if I turn it all the way to the other side, it will draw power from my cranking battery. Now, I'm going to be totally real with you. I'm not going to last a 12, 10 hour, 8 hour day running 5 GAFs and 2 forward-facing units off of 1 cranking battery, unless you're running around like all the time. But what it does is it gives me an insurance policy if I need an extra hour or 2 to fish, or say I need my maps to get home and everything's dead, I can go ahead and switch that over and have access to my units, to my maps, get those turned on just enough to get home and find my direction. So that is one of those killer little redundancy electronic engineering setups that you can do in the back. But it's absolutely sick back here. Very low, small signature, not taking up a bunch of space, but we have a ton of power, a ton of charging resources, and a bunch of options to kind of, I don't know, be safe and make sure that I'm able to take full advantage of my time on the water when I get it. She's done, boys! It's been a few days, but like, dude, my boys at GAF Marine are absolutely cool. Skylar, Will, Kyle, the whole crew. Like, this is the second boat they rigged for me, and it's absolutely sick. This is Fireballs, aka Red Rocket, and dude, I'm really kind of adjusting to the red. I'm not a big hot rod guy, but this thing looks pimp as hell, dude. It's super sweet. From the Precision Sonar graph mounts, I got lithiums in here from Precision Sonar. I got a Lowrance forward facing as well as a Garmin with that saltwater transducer, dude. I got a bunch of accessories on the power poles with all my hydraulic gear stuff from my buddy Rich. This thing is sweet. I don't really deserve it, like being totally frank, but I will embrace it and get it out on the water because that's the next step. Hit that like and subscribe button for me. I'm going to put links to all this stuff down in the description box, but the next video you should see, hopefully fingers crossed, because it's about damn time I go fishing, is taking this girl out on our maiden voyage. We will see you out there, boys, hopefully hanging out with Ball.